Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Perfect RIA podcast. I am your co-host, Matthew Jarvis, and with me today, special guest expanding our audience to the other side of the proverbial pond, though I guess let me step back. Depending on what side of the pond you are listening to, this may be coming from your side of the pond, but we're so glad to have Kat with us from the Chartered Institute for Securities and Investment, or CISI, which, Kat, is it roughly equivalent to like the FPA or the CFP board in the United States?
Absolutely. It is very, very close. Yeah. The CISI, we call it.
Yeah. And so we met each other as it relates to the CISI annual conference, which you all invited me to speak at, which was a great honor. But excited to have you on the show here today to talk about the financial planning space in the United Kingdom, to talk about events. I know that a lot of us go to these industry events and we think that they magically occur and we don't realize that there's thousands, you're already laughing, like there's thousands of things going on. And of course, Kat, we're going to talk a little bit about that. You've bounced from, you've been in several different professions and you have this real thirst for learning. So why don't we first start by talking about the CISI conference that we just had. Talk to us about what it's like to put together an event like that, right? As attendees, we just come and you're there and it's there, but tell us what happens behind the scenes.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Matthew, for having me today. Yes, I think being part of an event such as our flagship conference, Financial Planning Conference, is an absolute privilege. It takes a lot of work to put events like that together, especially considering that CISI is obviously not-for-profit charitable organization, and we strive to deliver the best for our members. We do want to put these events together that will be worthwhile for them to take the time out of their businesses, come together and hopefully learn something new and make new connections and interact. But most of all, I'm proud of the event because we not only try to serve our members, but we try to attract new talent to the financial planning industry. I don't know how it is in the US, but in the UK, financial planning is quite an elusive industry in terms of getting new talent in the industry. So we do have to go extra mile to make sure that people are aware of this career opportunity, and hopefully the conference has helped with that. We have done a lot to make sure that we had everything going for the conference. We had everything we had something for everybody almost at the conference. We had inspirational keynote speakers. We have pure financial planning. Financial planning gurus come and speak at the conference. And yes, definitely, we had explorers talk about their experience. So very, very different approach. And with different streams, obviously, we are trying to do everything to make this event truly memorable and standout events for the industry. So yeah, it was a work and a half, but totally worth it. Absolutely.
Something I want to draw out for our audience, now that I've recently begun speaking at events, including speaking at your events, just the correspondence from my team to your team, just for me, I was only one of the speakers, not even a keynote speaker, just one of the speakers. There was dozens and dozens of emails that had to go back and forth just to coordinate me. And I'd like to pretend like I'm not that much drama, but then I look at that times every speaker, it must take thousands of correspondence, maybe even tens of thousands of correspondence to get everything lined up. How do you manage all that? How do you keep yourself from burning out, managing all of these drama queens?
Well, first of all, you have to be really, really passionate about this. Just trust me, sending those emails out to speakers such as yourself and all the other speakers that we work with at these events. I can really say that it is worthwhile. It pays off. We absolutely are striving to make sure that you have absolutely best time when you're at the conference. And that's what brings out the best out of the speakers as well. So that will help us put the event together that we want to deliver for our audience. So yes, it does take time. It is quite a logistic heavy role, but it's absolutely worth it. And I myself am extremely passionate about networking, just exchanging emails with people, asking questions, and just getting to know the speakers. It's the fun side of the role, to be honest. That's how I got into the events. I was really drawn to the fact that I would get to speak to all these amazing people that I would have never come across in any other capacity in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And you get to interact with outstanding personalities, inspiring people. And I think that's the brilliant side of the job. But to go back to the burnout question, I think that's quite important. Any events organizer, and especially, I mean, even if you're not in events, but in financial industry, I think it's quite a demanding industry overall. As an event organizer, I have heard so many speakers talk about different tactics that they use, or psychologists, or the experts that have studied neuroscience and have explored our brains, and they do deliver this amazing findings and research at the conferences as well. And I have heard a lot, and I have learned from them a lot as well. And the best way I think that had worked for me in terms of managing my days is to make sure that my high intensity of work is always coupled with breaks, if you wish. So as long as I get my chance to reflect and to take a little bit of time for myself, then I think high intensity work definitely delivers for me. Yes, and there is this one fascinating speaker that she talks about neuroscience and the capacity of, as a human being, what you can achieve and how you can manage your day in the best way as well. And she talks about this analogy of a bucket. So if you imagine that your energy levels is like a bucket with a tap, and it's all constantly running, but then you have energy filling the bucket. But then you get lots of unexpected tasks that you have to respond to during the day. That makes extra holes in the bucket, and the energy keeps draining. As long as you're aware of that metaphor and you try to kind of slow down at one side of the, wherever the energy is escaping, then you can always make sure that you refill the bucket in one way or another. It's much more elaborate and much more interesting when she says it, but it just makes it really real. It helps you understand that your energy levels are depleting and you have to do something about it. So I think it's an interesting thing, just to take breaks and just being aware of where your breaking points are and try not to get to those points if you can. That helps me a lot.
If you wouldn't mind sharing, right? So you're especially leading up to events, right? So there's a high intensity, there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of attendees, participants, speakers, the whole thing. How does your day look with those breaks, right? Do you have a set, like I need to work for an hour, then I need a 10-minute break? Do you have kind of a set tempo, or are you just sort of more gauging where's my bucket at, to use your analogy?
Yes, I think as much as I would like to say that I do have the time breaks put in my diary, it doesn't always work out, obviously. But yes, it's just keeping myself aware of where I am and how much I can stretch this energy levels to. That's what helps me the most. And also there are a few habits that I've learned to work on, if you wish, and kind of made it into a habit. So again, that all goes to those amazing presentations that I have attended in the past. So it talks about the importance of basics. So importance of having good nutritious food and water throughout the day, and good sleep. That's the absolute basic. But then you move on to developing the breaks in a way that, when you are stressed and you feel overwhelmed, you just take a minute, even if it's just the breathe in, breathe out, and just step away from the desk. What else works for me? The other thing is just, keeping the motivation going as well. And you just have to find, I find those nuggets that work really, really well for me. As I said, it's networking. It's being surrounded by really, really interesting people. That gives me extra energy to go forward as well. So I try to surround myself with people, or nurture the network, if you wish, with people that I really enjoy interacting with. And it doesn't have to be only in work capacity, but, just a social life as well. So even if it doesn't have to be too many, but I try to surround myself with people that bring the best out of me, if you wish.
Yeah.
That can be just family members as well.
Obviously you have a big crunch time leading up to events. A lot of our listeners, right, do a surge meeting cycle where they try to do all their client meetings at once. And that can be very energy draining, to use your analogy, for both the advisor and for the team. And so I love this idea of, all right, I've got to make sure my nutrition's good, my hydration is good, my sleep is good. But yeah, maybe it is, if I'm feeling myself burning out between meetings 16 and 17, to take a minute. And I liked your idea of even calling a family member that's energy building for you, and just kind of recharging yourself for a minute and then get back at it.
And to develop those helpful habits, it's just, you can just then group them, like Deborah talks about it really extensively as well. You can group them in short-term, medium-term, and long-term habits. And short-term habit would be that helpful phone call or taking a breather. But medium-term goal would be maybe gratitude, just work on gratitude when in your own time and congratulate yourself or be grateful for those things that you've achieved so much. And then she talks about the long term, obviously, which can be for most of us meditation. It works for me, but it doesn't have to be. It can be different forms of meditation, whatever works for other people. And then, yes, I think nurturing beneficial connections and network, that's a hugely important part for me personally as well, because that keeps me going, definitely. And last but not least, I think it's being aware of addictions, and it can be work-related addictions as well, or anything that is draining your energy. It could be, too much of something. I don't know, too much of something, even if it's too much of going to the gym or too much of work or too much of something. We do get addicted to things, and then we strive to get that, satisfaction from things that can be actually detrimental for our health and well-being overall. So I think, yes, just keeping those little things in mind helps me get on with the day. And that there is this formula, the high intensity plus recovery, that's a well-being and job well done, basically. But without the recovery, it's just burnout and stress, a lot of stress.
A lot of stress, yeah. And like we said, especially with high pressure environments. Interesting point, Kat, that you brought up about these addictions that we can have that are draining energy. And I keep going back to your energy bucket analogy, right? So if those things, whether they're, we talk about alerts a lot. Like if I'm addicted to social media, or if I'm addicted to email alerts, or I'm addicted to even just interrupting my coworkers, could be a thing to look through your day, especially during those crunch times, getting ready for events, getting ready for surge, where I say, I need every single drop of energy I can have. I can't give any of it away to these addictions. I love that you called it just like it is.
Yes. I mean, we do have to kind of call it like what it is for us to be able to react, isn't it? So yeah, I think yes, we have to identify it for what it is, and then we can find the cure from it. But otherwise, those are the things that do help me get through the day. But apart from that, I do love being in events. And I think whatever you do, whether in financial industry or anywhere else, whatever you do, as long as you've got that satisfaction of getting something back out of it, then, it's totally worth it. But I would definitely look back and think of the times when I felt lost and, just not knowing where it's going all. And I think it's something that most of the people can relate to as well. The way what helped me most was just to take a break and think what made me happy. What were those important things in life that I could incorporate with work as well, and could pay the bills as well with that. So it's just, I think finding what makes you happy and how that can align with your work.
Yeah, and I think that's so interesting to have that awareness or that intentionality on, again, what's filling the bucket, what's draining the bucket. Be curious, Kat, in your work or just with CISI or anywhere else, watching that bucket for people around you, right? So you work with a team. There's a lot of people that are involved. Yes. Be curious any thoughts you have about watching team members, whether they're peers or above you, below you, however that hierarchy works, for their bucket levels, and trying to stay aware, like, am I adding energy or draining energy? I'd be curious, Kat, if you have any thoughts there.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think we are acutely aware these days more than ever before how we affect people around us, or how their job's affecting them as well, because we talk as a team, we do see each other, and we do feel each other's pain, especially because what it involves doing this job as well, and the stress levels it does involve. But what I found really, really helpful when I just started and I felt quite overwhelmed at the beginning is that you ask for help, and people are always more than you think happy to help you. It's a brilliant culture. I think CISI has a really, really good culture in terms of being there for each other and helping out. And not just the CISI as well. I found that I could drop an email or a LinkedIn message to somebody that I have in network that I felt that would have been of help, or they could give me direction. And you'll find that people that they don't know you are still willing to help and share the advice. So there is a lot of help available as long as you ask for help and you're on a lookout for help. But on the other hand, myself as well, and I'm sure it's the same with you, we do all enjoy helping others too, don't we? That's what makes us happy. You go home feeling that you've helped somebody today, you've mentored somebody today. I think that it's the best feeling ever. So I find somebody new on the team or old that is overwhelmed, I'm absolutely up for, having a chat or helping as much as possible as well, as long as, that helps the person on the day. That's, it's an achievement for the entire team. So no, definitely we need to be there for each other.
For sure. And a lot of that speaks to the community that you've built both internally for the employees there, but also for, of course, all of the advisor members. It can often be, I suppose, even in a large organization, it can often be lonely, right? You can think that I have my job to do and I'm the only one that can do that. And sometimes it's hard to raise your hand and ask for help. I know even on my small team, we try to really go out of our way to say, hey, what can I do to help you here? Because sometimes we're afraid to raise our hand. Though, to your point, Kat, it's funny when we do raise our hand and say, I need a hand with this. Most people are not only excited to help, but it's actually bringing them energy as well to be able to mentor, to be able to assist.
Absolutely. Yes, there is a brilliant man that I have worked with in the past. His name is Tom Griffin. He talks about extraordinary people and how we all are quietly extraordinary. It's just we don't know about it and we haven't uncovered our extraordinary. And he talks about the way to happiness, through helping others. So that's the only way. That's his conclusion, that the only way to feel happy about yourself is through helping others. That's what made him get over a lot of challenges in his life and turned it all around. So he runs this lab of life as well, little nuggets of his findings that he shares on LinkedIn and everywhere. So it's very, very interesting to hear these people. They've dedicated their life almost, to uncovering why we work the way we work as human beings and what makes us go forward, what makes us achieve those amazing achievements that lots of people do go on and achieve. And I probably, so I can only sit back and enjoy those takeaways from them. But it's an interesting journey to go on that journey with them and with the speakers and hear what they've got to say.
What was his name again?
Tom Griffin. He's brilliant. So he will talk about really easy to do tricks that you can apply to your life. So like, if your partner loves tea, for example, you make sure that, when you had your tea or something, then the kettle is filled up again with water so that your partner goes over to make himself or herself a tea and the water is already there. Things like that, really, really easy to do bits, but just to demonstrate the fact that, just making things happen for others is kind of fulfills you.
I love that. Yeah. Well, Kat, we only have just a couple of minutes left, but I'm curious, like you mentioned, part of your role as the event organizers, you get to meet a lot of really interesting people. I'm curious, in addition to Tom Griffin, who you just mentioned, are there any other people that come to mind, either through your work with CISI or in general that you've met that you think, boy, I really loved learning from them? Like everybody should be aware of this person and learn from them.
Yes, I think Tom Griffin and Deborah Holm definitely stand out. They both are amazing in their own right and in their own way. Deborah will tell you all about how your brain works and why you make the decisions the way you make them and what sort of animal instinct is operating in you at that very moment. So it's brilliant to hear her talk about it. And Tom Griffin will just teach you the way to find your happy and to get there in your own way. And, I think those are the two people that definitely stand out to me. I've heard lots of Olympians and lots of, high-end speakers, but these guys have definitely relatable.
Well, I'm especially excited because I hadn't previously heard of either of them. So I just added them to my list. I'm going to go check them out. And thank you so much for that introduction. Well, Kat, it was an absolute pleasure. I'm sure we could talk for hours. We didn't even touch into the other careers you had, your professional and personal development. So there's a lot of places we'll have to go in a future episode. But thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for organizing the CISI conference, which you guys do every year, and you do a lot of other events. So for any of our listeners that have not attended a CISI event, be sure to look that up. Again, I made the trip over to the UK for that. Hopefully I'll be invited back next year. So that'll be a lot of fun as well. Absolutely. And Kat, again, thank you so much. And for all of our listeners, until next time, happy planning.